right, guys, we are starting our new unit. So we are going to learn how to go from a fraction to a decimal. You need to get out a notes page, and you're going to take your own notes today. So make sure and title it Fractions to Decimals. So go ahead and title that. I'm going to be looking for these notes. So I want them to be neat. All right, so let's see. The first thing, number one, you've got two ways to actually do this. So the first one, you want to look to see if the denominator is a power of 10. So write that down. Look to see if the denominator is a power of 10. What I mean by a power of 10 is 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. Those are all powers of 10. We're probably just going to be looking at these two, really. So go ahead and write that down. Let's do some examples. So if you look at this one, this says 5/10. Well, if we know our decimal system is a tenth, then a hundredth, then a thousandth, and so on. So if it is a power of 10, it makes it very easy. 5/10 would just be 0.5. So 5/10. 66 hundredths is simply 66 hundredths. And 732 thousandths is simply 732 thousandths. All right? So if it's a power of 10, that's very easy. Now, if your denominator is not a power of 10, you might look to see if you can easily get it to be a power of 10. So if you look at my problems here, all of these numbers, 2, 4, and 5, are all factors of 10, 100, or 1,000, and so on. So it makes it easy to, let's say if I want my denominator to be 100, multiply by 2, 50 hundredths, or I should have actually, on this one, I should have just made it out of 10. So multiply by 5, I get 5/10, which is 5/10. 3/4, my denominator 4 here, I can get a denominator of 100, because 4 times 25 gives me 100. Multiply the top by 25, and I get 75 hundredths, which is equal to 0.75. Okay. 3/5, I can get a denominator of 10. So multiply by 2, multiply the top by 2, 6/10, and I get 6/10. Okay? So that's the easiest way. All of those, that's the easiest way, but that way doesn't always work for all the numbers. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, and why don't you try these three for me. Pause the video and see if you can turn these into a decimal. All right, go ahead and check your answers on those. See how you did on those. Make sure you have a couple of those examples written down on your notes, okay? Now, like I said, all of the numbers, all fractions, you cannot get a denominator of 10 or 100 or 1,000. So here's the other way that you're going to do it. This is the way that always works, okay? So if it's not a power of 10, you're going to need to divide the numerator by the denominator. So make sure and write that down. That is the second way. Divide the numerator by the denominator, okay? All right, so when I do that, I'm going to come up with two different answers, types of answers. I can get one where I would get a terminating decimal, and a terminating decimal simply means my decimal is going to end, okay? And I'll give you that example. So if I have 5/8, once again, my 8 cannot give me a denominator of 10 or 100 or 1,000, so I have to divide. So 8 can't go into 5, so I add a decimal and a 0. So 8 goes into 56 times, that's 48. Subtract. Every time I subtract, bring down another number. It goes into 20 2 times, that's 16. Oops, sorry, that's 16. Every time I subtract, bring down another number. It goes into 45 times, and you see how that stops. So I'm going to bring my decimal straight up. So that is 5/8 is simply 625 thousandths. Okay, so that's a terminating decimal because it ended, I ended up with a 0 here. Okay, the other one is a repeating decimal. I know you've seen this on your calculator or something like that where you see something that's repeating, so let's just see what it looks like. So 2/3, so I'm going to divide. How many 3's goes into 20? Because I can't go into 2, so that would be 6 times, that's 18. bring down 0. I get 20 again, so it's 6 again. Do you see how I'm just going to keep getting 20s there? So I can stop. This is a repeating decimal, so I'm going to put a 0.6 with the repeat sign on top. Okay? All right, so let's do a couple more examples. You can still do these on your notes. So these are examples. All right, so 3/8. Again, you want to look at the denominator. I cannot get any powers of 10, so that means I'm going to have to divide. Did I just do 3/8? No. Okay. So let's go. 8 can't go into 3, so I have to add a decimal and a 0. Remember, this is less than a whole, so up here you should have less than a whole. So 8 goes into 20. Why don't you do this one? Pause the video, you do it, and come back and check just that one. All right, how did you do with that one? Okay, 3/4, or sorry, 3/8, that's less than a half, so this is less than a half, because a half would be 4/8. So always kind of look at your answers and see if they kind of make sense, okay? All right, let's set this one up. 11 goes into 7. All right, pause the video and come back with that one. All right, check your answer on that one. You started to see a repeating decimal here. You kept getting that remainder 4 there. Okay, don't stop with that remainder until you see a pattern starting down here. Just because you have the same number up there doesn't mean it's repeating unless all of this down here is repeating. Okay, all right, let's do the last one. Pause the video and come back with your answer. All right, check that answer. All right, maybe some of you saw that 9/12 could have been simplified to 3/4, which is the same as 0.75. Okay? All right. Now you've got 5 questions to do on your own. Do them on your notes page, and then you're going to submit them on this form. Okay? All right, if you have any questions, make sure you ask. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.